Well, look at this bike that essentially just got it for parts. Look like it's part of some kind of murder scene, but I think after I clean all that spray paint off of it and what have you, it might be a gem. Is it a diamond? And they're really, really, really rough? Or is it just a box of parts? After this. Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles.
Welcome to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hi, I'm Justin, the guy. Obviously, I have a garage shop. Taking scary out of used bikes one bike at a time.
If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles, hanging out with the guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy, and this old bike series, well, we got ourselves something I need to take the scary out of. Oh boy, this is one of those weird deals, and you're like, this guy. I saw a couple bikes, I saw parts. I'm like, price is pretty cheap because I need parts, and figured these would be good to have. You know, even if half the parts are good, I'd do all right, because the period of bikes that I originally get are with the early 2000s, sometimes early teens, and I sometimes need shifters or brakes or whatever, or wheels. And I saw these couple bikes and they had some good distant parts on them. And looking at it closer in person, it turned out to be a Trek Pilot 1.2, which also has a carbon back. And the guy listed it as a Trek, but he didn't really know anything much more about it. And it's one of those bikes that I typically don't buy from these kind of individuals, flippers type things, but I was looking for parts, not necessarily thinking that I would refurbish this, but I'm kind of pulling the heartstrings. I'm like looking at this going, if I can get this paint, spray paint. Apparently the former owner had a bike stolen and he freaked out, so he spray painted his bike to make it not as appealing to thieves. Sure. So it has like this horrible drippy spray paint, gray from the spray can, and here we are, right? Originally what caught my eyes, like, oh, it has 105 shifters. If those actually shift, I'm good. Crankset, I'm good. Maybe a derailleur, possibly the wheels. These are the Bontrager SSRs where they've addressed that issue with the rim cracking. So most of those are okay. Needless to say, I'd still have to clean it and true it. But this, it's like, looking at it closer going, if I can get that spray paint to come off and clean up these scratches that are really bad on this side here, and everything else turns out to be fine, it's going to be one stellar of a bike for somebody. But in this condition, I don't think anybody should. This is not safe to ride, nor should anybody buy it. I think I'm the only one that actually responded to the listing because, it's one of those with horrible pictures, very funky description. I knew what I was seeing and what I was looking for. And it was like, okay, I do buy bikes sometimes just for parts. Not all the time as much anymore, but I do get in a situation where if I see something like this, I'm like, all right, I could use some of that, and whatever the case may be. But, at the end of the day, I might be able to get this to work. So and I would not have done this even a couple of years ago, even considered it. I was just taking the parts, clean them, and, the frame is now a table lamp or something. But since I've been doing a lot of frame detailing lately, I think once I get this layer of paint off, and I'll have to be very careful so I don't take off the actual original paint. But with spray paint, it doesn't cure obviously it wasn't clear coated, that kind of thing. So I think I can get this to clean off. That I'm going to have to use a lot of this very aggressive cleaner And actually I'm using carb cleaner for this. So definitely use gloves and protective wear when you use any of this kind of stuff. And do it out there well ventilated. So the garage door is open. I got a fan behind me to kind of keep me from getting high off of the fumes. That kind of thing. And I will be definitely using disposable. So I'm going to do a little test area, okay? So let's take a peek and see if we can pull back the curtain of somebody's really bad decision and see if we can bring this bike, poor bike, back to life. You know, I'm not the one that's totally into like giving inanimate objects feelings, but in this case I kind of do. Well, let's take a peek. Let's see what I can do. Pardon the interruption, there is more. More you say? Push the more button. Push it. Push it. I dare you to push it. Once you push that button, you get more details about the video you are watching, in addition to all the tools that I use in the shop, as well as suggestion for improving your ride. In addition to help me provide advocacy in the cycling community, also links to other social media accounts as well as my website to find the products I actually sell and other insights in the industry. Other videos linked below. Extend your cycling experience here on YouTube. And now back to your original programming. All right, so what I'm going to do is this seems like the thickest area where the guy went, or gal, whoever it was, went nuts on the paint. So I'm going to kind of hit that section. I'm going to do a test, see if I can get this to kind of clean up. And if I can get it to clean up without too much terrible damage to the original paint, then I'm going to strip this down and whoa, hey, there is actually a Trek. It's not a Treek, it's a Trek. Anybody seen that fake brand that looks like a Trek logoing and everything, but they added a couple extra letters? Yeah, that's kind of crazy, huh? So yeah, this carb cleaner is very strong stuff, so you definitely wouldn't want to get in your eyes or mouth or breathe, inhale too much of it. Obviously you have to have a be 20 or 19 or 21 or something like that, or 18 to purchase it. But all right, well, that's just coming off really good. That's a lot easier than I thought. Even on the, because the carb cleaner is like the most potent when it comes out of the can and evaporates pretty quickly. Well, the agent that tears through stuff evaporates. I don't know what chemical that is, so I'm not a chemist, but I'll tell you what I see in effect. But man, actually, as long as it doesn't dull that clear coat too much, I should be able to should be good. Which is really weird is up here, he somehow taped off the size sticker, but man, oh boy, this is gonna be a lot of cleaning, but hey, that's promising for sure, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's potential. I do have to give it that. I mean, that didn't take very long. I didn't have to take a lot of scrubbing. And if I can get majority of that gray off when I strip it down, then clean the parts. Obviously, the cables and the housing, that's gone. And the ultrasonic cleaner, if you spray paint on the parts, he'll definitely strip that off. No, I'm not worried about that. It's just the frame. And if I can use that three layer buffing technique that I have using add-in polishes, swirls, and compound, I should be able to get the frame to be up to life. The only thing I really saw scarring wise is on this side here, which looks mostly just the clear coat, so I can probably clean that up for the most part. Yeah, this is going to take a lot of work just on the frame and fork, but it's one of those things where a Pilot 2.0, well, the Pilots were the precursor of gravel bikes. Reason being is disc brakes were not out yet, so it didn't provide that wider area to open up to let the front wheel or the wheels to go through, like bigger tires. So they had larger calipers at that particular time. We're talking about like 2000, this is like, I'm going to have to guess it's about 2006, 2007, looking at the parts on it. And that way you can get a wider tire, like a 28 or a 30, a more aggressive tread, and it's like that pseudo gravel. Obviously, these weren't designed for racing. These are more of like your endurance gravel style bike, where the Damane is kind of, I'm sorry, not the Damane in the Trek line, also the Roubaix, from Specialized kind of fits into, but it does have the wider calipers. These particular brakes, you can't just swap them out with like just some Ultegras because the reach is not going to be far enough because the pivot points are higher. So it has a little bit different type of geometry on it. Not necessarily in the sense of fitting, it fits, but just for the placement of parts, it is a little bit different. So you got to keep note on that. That being said, though, the King Creek, are decent brakes. And Shimano did make some longer reach brake calipers too. So if you want to go with the Shimano brand, you can. This came with 105 Ultegra, which is pretty decent stuff. This is mid-range to upper, a little bit upper. And this had the wheel set. So as long as this wheel set is fine and the frame turns out really good, I got a good shot of getting this bike back to life. And 54, that's a pretty decent common size frame. That'd fit somebody that's, that's ready to get into road riding and do maybe some recreational. If they live somewhere without gravels, I'll see if I have a little wider tire I'll put on this just because. And because these tires are original, so that kind of gives me an indication that it didn't get ridden much. So as long as I can clean up the paint and address any of maybe the wear of just sitting around with new bar tape and stuff, if this is you, an individual, if you're really, really handy, you could probably do something like this. But if you rolled this into any bike shop, I guarantee you, they would just like no. You wouldn't have any of the frame. They don't do frame detailing. No bike shops that I know of does any kind of frame detailing. So they want to clean the frame up. They'd probably get a functional and shifting and all that, but it'd still be ugly. So unless you want to keep it ugly, and most people don't, I don't. So we're gonna do our best here, and let me crank the tunes and slam the coffee and try not to get high off of carb cleaner. Keep it well ventilated while it's a nice day, not too hot out, and let's see what I come up with. Let's check it out after this. All right, here we got it stripped down. So getting a closer look at everything, that's the spot that I cleaned. I haven't polished it yet, obviously, because I have to get the rest of the paint off, but we got some nice fuzzies going on the bottom bracket, so I'm going to use some personal power, as well as purple power, and to kind of clean that up. So far, nothing's really stuck out except for the jockey pulley and the rear derailleur needs to be replaced, as well as the chain. So looking at that, those two things definitely going to need to be addressed. All the cables in the housing, they definitely need to be taken off. So when I take the purple power, you can still see that paint. It's still not going to come off, so I'm going to have to use that carb cleaner. But that's what we're looking at so far. Oh wow, look at that. So I clean that up. So the purple power kind of goes away. There's still scratches there, but that means it's just in the clear coat, and I'll be able to get that out. Like, oh my goodness, over here, there's so much more paint. Oh, yeah, here we go. Man, gonna be a lot of chemicals going on in here to get this all cleaned up, but this is where we're at this stage of the game. Frame stripped, ready to clean it up. Well, here we have it, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls. All that paint stripped off. And now just the original clear coat and the original spec paint. It was kind of like, you're digging through sand and you find a fossil. It's kind of like how this went. Yeah, on to polishing now, but hey, at least I got all that paint off, and it looks like the original paint and clear coat is mostly intact, so that will look spectacular after I'm finished with it. In addition to, the parts did clean up real well. I needed a new jockey pulley. It has a little crack in that one, so I got another derailleur I'm going to swap it out with. And the cassette cleaned out, got all the little parts that got spray painted, cleaned, crankset as well, and the wheels turned out to be actually okay. Actually, those were harder to clean to get that paint off than the actual frame, but other than that, it all came off. But basically, got myself about 5 or 6 rags and $20 worth of carb cleaner to go through to get this to be where it is right now. But hey, let's take a look after I get all of this done. So here we have it, polished and detailed, You can see the glitter and the black paint, the crispness of the shiny silver, all that spray paint gone. Yeah, there's little scuffs here and there. Overall, this frame turned out immaculate. So yeah, let's recap after this. So yeah, there we have it. Yeah, it is a diamond. Oh, it took a lot of work. Yeah, like a couple cans of carb cleaner to get that spray paint off and a whole bunch of polishing, but the frame came out really immaculate. And I was pretty amazed how well that carb cleaner just kind of melted that spray paint. So, I mean, it took a couple, went through several rags, but that's okay. I need to get new rags anyway. So I did like the polishing with the compound. Really just need to do the compound, a little bit of sanding, I do have to say, but a little bit of mostly compound and the polish. Brought the frame back to life, inspected it. Nothing scary. I was very surprised. I thought it'd be like some damaged part underneath all that paint that somebody put on there, but remarkably enough, it turned out to be pretty good. And these little gel things, those are kind of cool because they actually give you extra padding for the handlebars. So new tape, new cables and housing. Jockey pole is going to need to be put on there. New chain because it's stretched, and plus it had rust on it. So when any of those little rollers have rust on them, I just kind of pitch it and get a new chain. The wheels, I'm very surprised it turned out to be very good. I knew one was out of true, chewed up really nicely, cleaned up, inspected, no cracks in any there. Just cleaned off the paint that was on to other things. The shifters came out really well too. So even if the frame was damaged, the parts that what I paid for this would have been more than sufficient. So actually this is going to turn out to be a really good bike, and I'm going to be able to keep the price down on this as well. So it's going to be immaculate 105 Ultegra Shimano componentry, 30 speed because it has a triple. So there lies a nice little benefit, especially for hills and so forth. So you got that wide range, and also the brakes. These particular types of brakes, they're longer calipers, and the frame's designed this too, so it can take a wider tire. I haven't digged up the tires yet, but I'll put a little bit wider tire on there for more of that gravel-ish experience. I mean, granted, it's not a true gravel bike, but for somebody that's just getting into riding and has an area where dirt roads and so forth or a mix, this is a great bike for that. And it'll do all the hills with all those gears, and you know, it has that more lax position for its comfort. So anywho, Pilot 2.1. That goes along with any of the Trek Pilot bikes in that time frame. I think it was like 5 or 6 years that they had that running, and before they came out with the gravel bike, and I think it was like the Checkpoint, I want to say is like the newer iteration of that, kinda, because the Checkpoint is not a cyclocross bike. It was kind of like the precursor to gravel, which they still make the Checkpoint today. So anywho, put a lot of effort into it, but actually I got a lot of reward out of this one, so I lucked out. Feel good. Better go get a lottery ticket or something crazy, right? A little high from the Humes, no, just kidding. Very arid in here with the garage door open, so, but man, boy, I did a lot of woo. I mean, yeah, it is something. But anyway, thanks for spending some time with me in the garage. More information down below if you want to find out more details and stuff about this bike and other things I do. And thank you for spending time with me in the garage. It's nice and near your neck of the neighborhood. If it's nice in your neck of the neighborhood, go for a ride. Anywho, until next time, from the garage. Oh, check out these beautiful pictures of the final result. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Amazing. Welcome back to Another Guy Bite. Me. Let's get this fluid motion going. After this. All right. Welcome back to a night.